Let's go exploring and see what we can find. Hey, Dylan.
Let's just try to start from the areas we can, okay?
Possible to operate them. Which machine used to race and repair the jetbikes? Mechanical parts have corroded away, and there are insects on them. Nice. Many small items, none of them appear to be usable. It's locked. To unlock, you need the city's key card. Alright, well, where am I going to go find the key card, I wonder? Elevator isn't powered at the moment. It won't operate. Okay, well. Edward City seems like it's unreachable for now. So.
Let's just try to start from the areas we can, okay?
Go to the third energy facility. We might need these. Nice. Good shit. Hey there, Annie. How are you doing? Is that it? I think that should be it. No more items. Okay. So I think I should be fine to do my pistol again. How's your day been today? Hope it was a good day. Hope it was a adventurous day. Hope it was a fun day. But overall, a good day indeed. Oh god, no, no, no. I do not trust these fuckers at all. No, sir! Yeah, you fell in the water, bitch! Oh shit. I don't know what I'm shooting at, but I sure am shooting at something. That's good. I'm glad to hear it. I hope it was also filled with, I was gonna say much. I was gonna say many, but I hope it was filled with much wonderful music, like the one that you showed me this morning. It was good. It was a pretty good day. Just got, like I said, just got home. Oh god. No, no, no! Just got home from having dinner with the family, so it was very nice. I just gotta keep going. Half of the time I don't even know what I'm shooting at! Looks like this is the end for us. After surviving all this time, and to be killed by humans. Who are they? Those people with the full face helmets and the rider suits. Somehow I managed to escape. They seem to have dropped the key to this facility. How foolish of me. I can only think of one place of where it might be. Must have dropped it somewhere near the spring in the jungle. I know exactly where it's at. And that little tiny spring right there. This little baby spring contains key to city. That spring has a rather fast current considering its small size. I must go there quickly or else it may drift away somewhere. This guy was to deliver that Colonel Mason has been stolen by them helmets. I believe that the data was some kind of autopsy. Ah. What did you have for dinner? We went to this place that serves. It's not traditional Chinese cuisine, but it is delicious. And the reason I say it's not like local Chinese cuisine is because it's like it's the American, Chinese cuisine where it's like orange chicken, kung pao chicken. Ow. Assholes! Okay, fuck you guys. Bitch! You guys fight like babies! Little tiny babies. It's just easy to take care of. Easy peasy. Why did they make that sound when they die? I do not know. Therefore, I do not ask these noodles of the sea. Or whatever they are. Let's get out of here. Not bad. We're getting a bunch of points for this shit. Hell yeah, brother. Well, let's get out of here. These SMGs are just too good. Too good. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the dish that I got was, they got Kung Pao chicken with chicken and beef. My sister got orange chicken and her boyfriend got broccoli beef. I ended up getting it's called like string beans and beef, but I ordered extra beef because I wanted to make sure that I finished my plate, which I did. It was super delicious. Everything is always delicious over there. Wait, no, don't say that. Ooh, heavy machine gun or missile pod? Unless I could just buy the missile pod right now. It's really delicious. I highly recommend it. I could do 20. Sure, we'll do 40 pods. 40 missiles. I don't need... No, power battery. Don't really need that either, I don't think. Then again, I could just buy these two right off the bat already. But I don't really need them. You want to know the secret to how Chinese restaurants always make their beef really tender and they cook all their stuff really, really good? It's cornstarch. Or baking soda, I should say. Sorry. Baking soda, not cornstarch. Baking soda. But cornstarch, when you're like preparing the beef and everything, you'll make sure you want to marinate it. And I say marinate because it gives it a very unique kind of texture. So when you cook it, it comes out, it comes out the way that those restaurants do, or those places do it, which I always thought was very interesting. That's a little technique that people should really learn when it comes to cooking, especially when they want to make their favorite kinds of dishes, such as this. Okay, back to the jungle we go. Wish we could ride out on the, ride out and then have my favorite fake Chinese dish is dragon chicken. I don't think I've ever heard of dragon chicken before. That sounds delicious. Delicious. Yeah. Whoops. Wrong thing. Wait a tick. Oh. So it's thin stripped chicken fried and coated in a spicy sauce, dry red chilies and cashews. Ooh. That reminds me of Szechuan chicken. I will have to try that sometime because that sounds super delicious. Then again, I'm a sucker for spicy food, so. But then again, obviously, my cooking's the best. I'm sorry. Yeah, my cooking's the best because I learned from the one and only King Cobra JFS, and we all know that, So, forget everything you know about, you know, Americanized Chinese food. I'm taking it to a whole nother level. Yes. What do you mean no? Do you not want to? Do you not, do you not want me to cook for you anymore? But I thought, okay, wait. I thought you loved King Cobra though. I want to see him make Chinese food. Oh no, he makes something even worse. He makes like ramen noodles with like tuna and salmon and ranch and mayo and a bunch of yummy stuff that you would never think about putting in a ramen noodles. But my God, does it really make your tummy rumbly? Uh, God, I hate. You know what? You've persuaded me, Annie. I think after we're done playing this, we're gonna watch a little bit of King Cobra, and then we're gonna and then oh yeah, that's right. I was like, wait a minute. We'll watch a little bit of King Cobra JFS, and then we'll play some Obscure too. Man, this really does bring out the old school Resident Evil vibes, huh? Yeah, let's use this thing. Why not? Jesus. Oh. Die, bitch! I should probably save this for later. This is way too strong for me right now. There you go. I think we're good now. 8,500. Not bad. I think I'm going the right way. Wait. Oh no, let's go into the research facility. Never mind, I don't need to go there. Never mind. Oh, these little dudes sound like monkeys when they die. Why did they make him sound like that? It's like, yeah, let's give these guys the sound of a monkey howling when it dies. Like, that's totally what a dinosaur would sound like, right? Or a little dino. Like, bitch. No. Bitch. I'm getting out of here. Do you think that sounds so weird? Okay, I'm gonna head downwards. Perfect. Actually, no, I should save here. Actually, nah. I'll save. I'll be okay. Yeah. Don't want to see Cobra anywhere? Yeah, I do. But I just want to make it to the end of this bit right. Oh, fucker. I just want to make it to this little bit of the end over here. Sorry. What I'm trying to say is I want to get the key to Edward City and then get to the next save point. I was trying to think about what I was trying to say, but I keep thinking about that fucking dish with the ramen and the salmon and shit. It's like, ugh. And you want to know what the worst? Actually, you know what the most genius part is? And this is something that I'm gonna do for us on our whole cooking escapade or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Whenever I cook for you, there you go. Is that after he's done cooking, he leaves his food overnight and then eats it the next day. Genius! Why didn't I think of doing that? See, okay, like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna surprise you. I'm gonna look at all this delicious food that I cook for us, right? I got the meatballs and the spaghetti and the what was the other one that what was the other thing that we saw him make? The what was it like mac and cheese or something? Yeah, the mac and cheese. I'm also cooking the mac and cheese, on the side. Oh, oh my God. Okay, we can't forget about the drink combos. Oh my God, that's a whole nother level of chef cuisine right there. Okay, so after I'm done making the spaghetti and meatballs for us and the mac and cheese, right? Next, after all that's done, after all I went through all that trouble of cooking all that food and everything, I'm gonna leave it overnight, and then the day after is when we actually eat the food. Yes, drink combos. His famous drink combos. Oh, okay. You haven't seen those yet. We need to watch the we need to watch the Valentine's Day special drink combo. Trust me, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be a doozy. Oh, you fucker! Ow. Okay, where's this waterfall? I know it should be around here somewhere. What the hell? Yeah, drink. His drink combos are they're they're very interesting. Okay, I need to. Perfect. I think it's down this way, if I'm not mistaken. Bitch. Get off me, bitch. It's like, look at all the trouble your gothic bad boy went through in order to cook all this delicious food. And he wouldn't even be able to get to eat it because I'm going to wait for it to cool overnight to where it gets all hard and nasty and yucky. and then and then we can officially eat, you know. Where's the fucking key? Yeah, and soggy. You can't forget soggy. And what were the other words that he used? Um congealed, right? Congealed, like, and moist. Yeah, he uses moist too. Yeah. These adjectives of that just make your food sound so delicious. I'm like craving. Like I would never thought that I'd be able to use, you know, congealed, soggy mac and cheese and ramen noodles. Don't say ew. You love his food, okay? I'm gonna be cooking us that kind of food. So I don't want to hear it. I'm learning from the best, and obviously I got to show something for it, which means that I'm going to show off his culinary skills to the world. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'd probably. Where the fuck is the key? Would you still be on in like an hour or so? Yes. I thought the fucking key was supposed to be here. What the hell? Oh, there it is. Sweet. Third energy facility keycard. Okay, so it was an Edward City keycard. Are you going to be heading out? If so, I appreciate you coming by. Okay, don't watch any cover videos without me. I'll be back for sure. You have fun. Be safe and have fun. Okay. So then I'll probably play something else because I don't want to play Obscure 2 either. I don't want you to miss out on all the fun. So I won't watch any Cobra videos, and I won't watch any. I won't play any Obscure 2. So I'll probably, since we have the keycard, I'm probably gonna give this a save as well. And we'll do some just chatting. We'll watch some other stuff. We won't watch any King Cobra videos. Don't you want to watch though? Or no, actually, you told me that you wanted to play at the same time that I'm playing. So, well, all right then, if you say so. Don't you be throwing stuff at me later on because I told you so. Like, hey, you told me that it's fine. Now you're getting all mad at me? What the fuck? No. Okay, let's do a bit of just chatting for now. Oh, blue screen. Okay. Since we saved. You know what we should do? Hold on. Watch this. Actually, no, you can't even watch that. Damn it. I wish we could watch Shin-Chan. Or Crayon Shin-Chan. But you can't. What? King Cobra JFS bullied by Blackman? Oh, man. Look at this. Okay, look. Look at these videos that I get recommended. King Cobra, cooking with Cobra, curly fried cheeseburger, and cleaning. Oh, God. Wings is so low on money, he does the unthinkable. Advice giver should not be banned. What? I don't know what this is. I don't know most of the stuff.
This video is brought to you by Ground News.
Let's watch
We
this.
love
What is
history
this?
documentaries, and by watching this video, you probably do too.
Eat
But
like
right
a
now, there
king
are
while
important
everybody else
issues all over
starves.
the world that have a direct impact on people's lives, and Ground News is making sure that the news we watch and read have diverse perspectives. Ground News is a first-of-its-kind website and app that lets us compare how a single news story is being covered across the political spectrum.
Okay.
Using the bias distribution chart to show us Ground News is confident that you're getting staying for the free subscription year.
There we go. Nice. Good job, sir. Everybody
Kim
start crying.
Jong-il versus the starving masses of North Korea, 1993 to 2011.
Damn.
On the day of Kim Jong-il's birth on North Korea's cherished Pakdu Mountain in 1940,
Wait, hold on. What is this? This is a
the
different
Kim
one.
Dynasty, a land of public executions, extreme poverty, and rampant famine. North Korea has been ruled by the same authoritarian regime since its founding in 1948. The Kim Dynasty, which was installed after Kim Il-sung came to power at the conclusion of World War II and Japan's retreat from Korea, has held an iron grip over the country for 3 generations now. Forced disappearances, kidnappings, and work camps break the populace and foster a fierce loyalty,
Jesus,
and on
dude.
some level, desperate love for the state. Needless to say, North Korea isn't a
Yeah, because if you don't show your absolute like loyalty to the point where you say, you know, fuck everything else, I'm dying for this dude, and you know, screw every other belief that I have. It's I give my life for this dude, or my family and you know my family and my father and his father, or not his father, and you know my children and my children's children are gonna end up being thrown into uh imprisonment camps because I don't praise somebody enough, or I wouldn't give my life for our dictator. That's how fucked up it is over there.
exactly a hot housing market. In fact, between the years of 1960 and 2022, less than 50,000 people immigrated to North Korea. For comparison, over 8 times this amount immigrated to Afghanistan during the same time frame, which is one of the poorest countries in the world. North Korean culture. Indeed, there are a lot of things keeping people from moving to North Korea, but fashion, art, and a really cool zoo aren't one of them. Not only does North Korea pressure their citizens to choose from a whopping 15 unique haircuts, they make sure to provide an
15?
equal amount to both males and females.
Damn.
Men get 15 haircuts to choose.
They get 15 haircuts. Most of them don't really look all that. What?
From. Women get 15 haircuts.
They also get 15 haircuts. Some of them look. Some of them sort of look the same.
To choose from.
But okay.
Whatever flavor of the undercut is picked, men in North Korea will be thankful that their leader picked haircuts out of a mid-80s GQ magazine.
Nice.
But don't let hair fool you. North Koreans enjoy their lives on many levels. One of the most rewarding things to do in the country's capital of Pyongyang is visit the zoo. On display is a wide variety of animals, including lions, elephants, monkeys, and a vibrant aquarium. Visitors from the United States will be pleasantly amused to even find a dog exhibition featuring German Shepherds, St. Bernards, and Shih Tzus.
Wonderful.
Common household pets in the States, but exotic animals in North Korea, thanks to a strict pet policy. The zoo's most famous attraction and a local favorite is a must-see for returning visitors and tourists alike. Azalea, the smoking chimpanzee, is a wonderful reminder of North Korea's dedication to laughing at life's quirks.
Nice.
Sponsored by Empires and Puzzles. Even puzzles.
Subject to under the Kim Dynasty.
Oh boy.
The dazzling trio of North Korea's 3 brightest rays of light, Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-un, have always kept it interesting to say the least.
I bet.
Here are the craziest, most unhinged moments from each of the supreme leaders.
Oh no.
Kim Il-sung. Kim Il-sung had a reputation for being a ruthless leader who was willing to do whatever it took to protect his country's interests. During his rule, he ordered hundreds of executions, and some of his craziest moments involved these executions. One of his most notorious executions was that of General Pak Hong-yong. General Pak was a former North Korean defense minister and a rival of Kim Il-sung. In December 1955, General Pak was arrested, tried, and convicted of plotting a coup against Kim Il-sung. He was executed with a single shot to the head, and his body was publicly displayed for 3 days in a Pyongyang square as a
Damn.
warning to any would-be traitors. However, when he was not ruthlessly executing political rivals, Kim Il-sung indulged in the usual mindless displays of power. He developed a cult of personality that has been a long-standing tradition in North Korea, with his image being seen everywhere in the country from statues and monuments to posters and books. He is seen as a leader and a father figure to many North Koreans, and his teachings and philosophies are still taught in North Korean schools today. His ideology of Juche, or self-reliance, has also become part of North Korean culture, and his legacy is still celebrated and revered by many North Koreans. Kim Jong-il. After his father's death in 1994, Kim Jong-il came to power in North Korea and ushered in a new era of bizarre antics. One of Kim's most outrageous moments was when he attempted to solve North Korea's hunger problem by importing giant rabbits from Germany. He believed that the meat yielded by these rabbits would end his people's starvation.
No.
However, Karl Schmalinsky, the world expert breeder of giant rabbits, explained to Kim that these rabbits only yielded about 15 pounds of meat and had huge appetites requiring lots of vegetables to stay alive, which made them unsuitable for combating famine. Despite this, Kim decided to purchase 12 rabbits for about $115 each. Ultimately, Smolinski believes that Kim ate the rabbits to celebrate his birthday.
Damn.
Another of Kim's outrageous moments was when he decided to rid the capital city of short people. He had pamphlets distributed in Pyongyang describing a wonder drug that would help short people grow taller. As people began lining up in response to the pamphlet, they quickly got the feeling that something was off. Unsurprisingly, there was no wonder drug. It was Kim's way of gathering the shortest members of society in one place so he could round them up and have them sent away. Kim also had some strange habits. He had a staff of women inspect his rice before it entered his palace's kitchen, making sure each piece met his standard for uniformity and plumpness. Additionally, he made sure that he never took addictive substances alone. He had a staff of people take the same drugs as him. For example, if he was prescribed a painkiller, he would make his staff take the painkiller medication with him.
What the fuck?
Kim Jong-un. As the torch once again passed from father to son, so Kim Jong-il died and Kim Jong-un assumed his position as supreme leader of North Korea. Kim Jong-un's regime has had its fill of ridiculous and terrifying displays of force. But one disheartening example was when he ordered the confiscation of all pet dogs in Pyongyang in 2020.
What?
Blaming Western decadence, Kim ordered the removal of all pet dogs and even used force to separate some dogs from their owners.
Wow.
The mass confiscation of pet dogs was especially concerning, given North Korea's ongoing food shortage, which led many to believe that their pets were heading towards becoming someone's next meal. Another bizarre moment was when Kim Jong-un allegedly had a former army vice minister killed with a mortar round in 2012 for drinking and partying after his father's death. Moreover, in recent history, Kim has carried out many purges within his cabinet that aim to eliminate anyone deemed a threat. These executions of senior officials are often public and horrifying in their violence. In one instance, Hwang Min, a former agricultural minister, and Hyun Yong-chol, a defense minister, were paraded out in front of an anti-aircraft gun and shot with an anti-aircraft round. Kim's odd behavior has been further demonstrated through his friendships with controversial figures, such as basketball star Dennis Rodman. Rodman's been on several highly publicized trips to North Korea, including one time when he took 10 retired basketball players to play a game in North Korea for the Supreme Leader's birthday. During these visits, Rodman has publicly described Kim as a big kid who just wants to have fun. Kim also has an odd taste in music, having created his own pop band named Moranbong Band. The group debuted in 2012 and made waves in the music scene with catchy tunes like Do Prosper, Era of the Workers' Party. To no one's surprise, these gals were less of a hit among the rest of the world. Perhaps there is some hope for the future, though, as Kim Jong-un has shown interest in working with both South Korea and the United States. In 2018, tensions between North and South Korea decreased as President Trump became the first U.S. president to enter North Korean territory, and Kim crossed over to South Korea during a series of summits. In the Winter Olympics, North and South Korea marched together in the opening ceremonies, and players from both countries played on a unified Korean ice hockey team. Although the threat of nuclear war still looms in the background, and North Korea has much work to do in fixing its human rights violations, perhaps cooperation with countries such as the United States will allow North Korea to enter an era of universal prosperity, or at least...
Maybe, but who knows, to be honest. Oh yeah, bacon pizza nachos. We got that from King Cobra too. Oh baby. Alright, sorry about that. Bacon pizza nachos. Oh my god. Ooh, what is this?
This may look like your normal everyday family mart in Japan, and the good news is that's exactly what it is. But I realized yesterday that I've neglected to tell you about the best food in Japan, the famichiki. So I ran out today to grab one for you. I'm so nice. I'm doing this for you guys, and not because I want a famichiki. They just released a summer exclusive habanero famichiki, and I think we all know where this is gonna go. Taste of soft, juicy chicken, the boneless type. I am chicken. You can't really get a more clear packaging than that. And even though I followed the extremely clear instructions on how to open it, I managed to mess it up, so my entire day is ruined. If this magma red crust is anything to go by, this is probably going to be really spicy. And I really hope so because I'm sick of things not being spicy in Japan. Although honestly, you could dip a famichiki in Nutella and I'd probably eat it. So it's hard to be disappointed. Though it wasn't blazing hot, it had a decent kick to it, which is frankly good enough for me. Like I said, you can't really make famichiki bad. Just look at how juicy and delicious this piece of beautiful chicken is. Seriously, it needs to be in a museum, and the worst part is that there's no substitute. Don't try to make this at home because I guarantee you can't without offering your soul to some dark wizard who gives you the gift of famichiki, and I wouldn't recommend doing that either. Just leave it to the professionals. This may look like your normal everyday family mart in Japan, and the good news is that's exactly what it is. But I realized yesterday that
The Kim Dynasty, a land of public executions.
I mean, yes, but also I'm gonna have to be the dictator of that myself. I don't know if I don't know how good famichiki is. I haven't had it yet. Oh, lovely.
For those of us living in Japan, you know just how hard it is to find a decent burger. When those beef and carb cravings kick in, I suppose you can get a beef over rice bowl, but I think a rice burger is just what you need. I would never say anything bad about someone who goes the extra mile to do nothing but change their food from a bowl to a burger. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Using this ring, I'm gonna make 2 perfect rice patties as buns. You'll want to put them in a pan to develop a golden crust, otherwise it'll fall apart just like my social life. For some reason, most rice burgers here use thinly sliced meat. As long as it's seasoned properly, I'd call that a burger well done. For those of us living in Japan, you know just how hard it is to find a decent burger.
What?
What are you supposed to be?
I'm Mother Teresa, Asian Filipino virgin who likes to also kill people and maybe spank babies.
Oh,
everyone's
that one.
favorite
From the
Asian
folklore.
Filipino who loves to kill people and
spank the babies. I remember from
I've
the
read about
stories.
that when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too. And what are you
Next to
supposed
you?
to be?
I'm a sick dog.
When the cone is because you're sick or because you just got spayed or neutered?
Yeah, they took my pussy out.
What?
What are you supposed to be?
I'm
Jesus. Squid ume nato?
Wow.
Oh, Ika. Ika ume nato. Oh. Salted plum. Interesting.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Oishii. Wow.
Interesting. Oh god, the French fries incident with King Cobra. Yep. Can't watch that though. Not yet. Excuse me. Okonomiyaki.
Some really cool kid in the comments is asking for an easy to make Japanese dish. Thanks. And here we have okonomiyaki. The best translation I could find is a Japanese pancake. But what kind of sicko puts cabbage in pancakes? Okonomiyaki is made differently depending on the region. Some areas use noodles while others use seafood. I was feeling pretty basic, so here we have the world's most decent okonomiyaki with cabbage and sliced pork. You'll want to coat it in okonomiyaki sauce, or should I say Japanese pancake sauce? A little bit of mayo with seaweed flakes, and now it's time to dig in. Some really cool kid in the comments is asking for an easy to make Japanese.
the target area commute on May 31st, 2013
Oh, the El Reno,
was
Oklahoma
a grim
tornado.
reminder
of the potential destruction a volatile atmosphere can unleash. Just 11 days prior, a killer EF5 tornado ended the lives of 23 people, injured almost 400, and destroyed over 12,000 homes as it ripped a mile-wide path through Moore, Oklahoma. No one would have imagined that this day would see a tornado more than twice that size. Here we are positioned on the dry line just west of El Reno, Oklahoma, awaiting initiation. Earlier this morning, the Storm Prediction Center issued a loaded gun warning for Oklahoma City and surrounding area.
Whoa, man, that was a jump.
Oh, it's all right.
Mother Nature was showing her teeth, and unlike this female bull snake, it was not a compelling bluff.
May your hot temperature.
This grumpy girl is just eager to get to her underground shelter, where she and her belly full of eggs can help the local farmers control the rodent populations.
Whoa, hey. All right. We're going to let her go.
At 4:37 p.m., 3 small cells sprung up on radar, and 12 minutes later achieved severe status. Here we are keeping an eye on all 3 bases that eventually join forces to become one organized storm. We were headed south a few miles to get a better view of the storm, but had to stop and help a panicked snapping turtle sitting in the road. The storm had hardly moved, but was intensifying fast, and by 5:38, the brilliant minds at the Storm Prediction Center issued a tornado warning. Now we are about to witness the birth of a record-breaking tornado that will eventually grow to over 2.5 miles wide.
Ugly tornado. Look at the size of that monster. Jesus. There goes. Look at that. Jesus. Man. Holy cow. Alright, this is gonna get really ugly really fast here. Look at that. God. This is ugly. I gotta stop and take some pictures.
The multiple vortex tornado was moving faster now, growing in size, and while tailgating a line of other vehicles, I calculated a direct hit, so I whipped the car around and headed back west.
Blue gale blowing sideways, and there's a tornado next to me. People are gonna die today. Might be me. That's a massive tornado right there, wrapped in rain.
Here we're blasting east, trying to catch up to the monster, which is now making a hard left turn, but I had to stop and help a panicked woman standing in the road.
So good I can borrow. My house is over by the airport. My husband is there. I'm here babysitting my grandkids.
Yep, I sure do. What's your phone number?
It's 918.
Hold on, who are we calling? Hang on. You're fine. Everything's fine.
Okay.
Everything's fine.
918.
918.
This clip reveals man's best friend's internal struggle between loyalty and self-preservation.
Get into shelter. Do you have shelter here?
We've got a storm cellar with no door on
The
it.
worst is past. Get in it. Your phone isn't working?
Oh my God.
Everything's fine.
The house is right across the street from the airport. It's my house.
It happened right next to you. You're fine.
Okay.
Well, their phone is ringing, so here, I gotta roll up the window because
Okay.
the gear's getting.
At this point, the tornado is at peak width, a 2.6 mile wide EF5, the widest tornado ever recorded.
Tornado's still on the ground.
From my perspective, that appeared to be the end of the tornado's life. However, several other areas of strong rotation are now evident on radar, including a massive circulation complete with an eye entering Oklahoma City.
Which is south of the Mustang area out there and runs over by the airport. That is just a traffic jam there right now.
All right. This thing's heading right for Oklahoma City. It's 6:45, and I'm not going to follow it into Oklahoma City and get stuck. There's another rapid rotation right behind this one. So Oklahoma City right now is under the gun twice, and it could get hammered.
Alright, we're checking out the only game where you can eventually turn into a natural disaster the size of the entire planet with light speed winds killing everyone. It's Hurricane Outbreak. Hurricane Outbreak is a game where you get to control a sad little tropical depression and allow it to grow into a giant murderous storm. Now, typically, the storm is very small, and it does grow to pretty decent proportions, including eventually getting up to a Category 10, which isn't actually supposed to even exist except in theory. However, once again, we have hacked the game. And so today, we will go across the entirety of the globe with a hurricane that by the end will be bigger than the entire planet. So obviously you've got to start somewhere. 12-mile-an-hour winds. Rookie numbers. And normally what you would do is get all these different clouds over here. But instead, we could do... Let's just try wind speed 10 instead of 1. And max wind speed 20. And just see where that gets us. Okay, from 10 to 12 miles an hour. All right, let's bring it up a little bit. Let's try 50 and 30. Okay, so now we're starting to get somewhere. As you can see, we're already a Category 1 storm. But just like anything in this world, we have to murder people in order to keep our strength up. You actually get to see, as you start coming into the cone of death toward the different parts of the planet, them raising the red alarm. You can see right over here, the folks on this tiny little island are like,
oh, hell no.
All right, I'm not gonna smash them, but I at least want the tip. I just want to give them the tip. You know what I mean? Just to see if we end up with any deaths. All right, we do have some flooding going on here. There is a little bit of damage as well. And no deaths. So it knocked us down to 62 miles an hour and we didn't kill a single person. How do you like that? Obviously, it shows you every single death that you do. So what we're gonna do here... Oh, hold on. There's something else that we could do just because it's stupid. All right, you see how normally how slow you turn as a hurricane? All right, let's try direction 10 and recovery rate 10. Oh, yeah. You ever seen a hurricane be able to do a U-turn? I'm gonna be doing donuts in the Gulf of Mexico. Hey, Florida, you thought you were gonna get out of this? This storm literally just makes a hairpin turn and goes straight for my hometown. Okay, now that we can do some stuff stupid as that, I don't want the speed to go anywhere quite yet because I don't want to go too fast through Florida. Obviously, we can mess with the cloud temperature, the water temperature. Let's bring this up to 100 and we'll do 6 strength and a 3. And what the hell, water vapor sounds delicious. Let's bring that up to 10. All right, here we go. Okay. So now we're 100 mile an hour, category 2. Now, considering I'm in Florida, I'm gonna tell you right now, category 2, you're still going to work at that point. You're still getting calls from the boss. They're like, you're coming in today, right? Obviously, as we come through some of the cloud cover here, we're gonna be soaking that up and increasing our death potential.
It's like, hey, yeah.
And right about, and we should get a couple of deaths at this point. All right, now the damage is starting to go up pretty fast. The flooding is really starting to hit. We're hitting this place at 122 miles an hour. But again, it is Florida. There we go. 162 miles an hour. Matanzas.
Jesus. The largest waterfall in the solar system? What? Horrifying footage caught inside North Korea.
North Korea is extremely isolated from the rest of the world. Hardly any information about the country ever escapes, but when it does, it's usually quite shocking to everyone else. The conditions in which North Koreans live their lives every day are pretty horrifying. We showed some clips about the horrors of living in North Korea in a previous video on our channel. Be sure to check it out after this video if you'd like to see more about North Korea. Here are some of the most disturbing pieces of footage to ever escape. North Koreans don't have access to modern technology. In this video, a woman was able to secretly film while she was driving through the countryside in North Korea. The North Koreans who live in the countryside are known to live in some of the worst conditions in the entire country. North Korea is extremely isolated from the farmers have no access to miles and miles known to live in some of the worst conditions in the entire country. As she drives through miles and miles of farmland, she points out that the farmers have no access to any modern farming equipment. The farmers work the fields by hand or with crude tools. She also points out how almost no one has vehicles in this part of the country. She drives past many people who are walking along the side of the road and hardly passes any cars. The condition of the roads point to the quality of life these North Koreans are experiencing. She drives along the side of a road that's been completely broken in half due to a landslide. The woman even drives over a bridge that is buckled due to a large amount of rainfall. She said that the very next day, that bridge ended up collapsing. The North Korean government does little to maintain these roads in this part of the country. Woman directs fake traffic in downtown Pyongyang. It's rumored that in North Korea they have their citizens act out certain roles or jobs to make the country seem a lot better than it is to foreigners. This video may help prove that. The video was taken in downtown Pyongyang, and the sidewalks are bustling with people. The person taking the video turns to show the street traffic. Standing along the street is a traffic control officer, and she turns around and seems to notice that she's being filmed. She turns back to the street and starts blowing on her whistle and waving her flag. However, despite her looking like she's directing traffic, she isn't actually doing anything. The cars keep driving past and the people keep walking by. It's almost as if she's putting on a show for the camera. Interesting North Korean tour guide. When visiting North Korea, tourists can only visit government-sanctioned tourist locations. All tourists are usually accompanied by a government employee at almost all times. This is to make sure that foreigners only get to see parts of the country that the North Korean government wants them to see. In this video, a group of foreigners is taking a tour led by a female North Korean government official. As she's giving a tour and walking about some of the North Korean military's tanks, she notices that one of the foreigners has separated and wandered away from the group.
Okay, I think, can I have his name?
Andre.
Can I have a name, please?
My name? Andre.
Matt.
Andre.
Andre, okay. Now it's time to go to see the Pueblo, okay?
Okay.
Okay, here please, we go back and see Pueblo.
It doesn't seem like he's that far away from the group, maybe about 15 to 20 feet tops, inspecting one of the tanks up close. The tour guide instantly calls him back to the group, saying he isn't permitted to wander off. Then she takes them away from the area, seemingly because the man was wandering. On this same tour, the tour guide explains to the group how North Korea defeated the United States. This may seem odd to you, because in the rest of the world's version of history, North Korea never defeated the US.
But following the instruction of the great leader Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, we responded that we would answer their retaliation with retaliation and answer their all-out war with an all-out war. We didn't surrender, but we took tough stance. So in the long run, they had no choice but to propose dialogue. So 11 months after the capture, the US government sent letter of apology. That was December 1968. And that apology was the first one that they ever sent to the other government in the history of America.
She basically says that under the direction of their fearless leader, Kim Jong-il, North Korea was able to scare the United States out of their land by saying they would retaliate with nuclear force. She also says that because the United States was so scared of North Korea's power, they sent an apology letter to North Korea. The first apology letter that the US has ever sent to another country.
What?
Comic books in North Korea. In North Korea, almost everything is propaganda. The country has restricted access to outside media because the country wants to be able to control how their citizens think and keep them from seeing what the rest of the world thinks about North Korea. This propaganda includes televisions, books, and even comic books. In this video, a man visiting North Korea was able to sneak in a camera to film his experience during his visit. In the video, he approaches a newsstand and grabs a comic book. He starts flipping through the pages, revealing the comic book to contain imagery and content about how powerful Kim Jong-un is and the power of North Korea. This video just goes to show how far the North Korean government has gone to control the minds of their citizens. North Korean auto dealership. This is another video that may prove the theory that the North Korean government places actors in places where tourists may be. In this video, foreigners were able to go to an auto dealership in North Korea. The man filming says he believes that they were taken there so that they could see that North Korea is not behind the times when it comes to modern technology and resources. Because this is a common belief held by the rest of the world, North Korea will often show visitors these kinds of places to prove that belief wrong. The man shows the car and the vehicles in the dealership and even tries to talk to one of the people who look like they're shopping for cars. When he tries to talk to them, they quickly walk away from him.
You like this car? Oh, I think I scared them.
He said that he believes that they're actors because when he first walked into the dealership, they were just standing around talking to each other and that there were no workers in sight. As soon as he entered the dealership, the people all of a sudden started shopping for cars, and salesmen walked out to start showing the cars. This paired with the fact that they refused to talk to him when he spoke to them makes it seem like these shoppers were in fact actors, placed there by the North Korean government so they could show their citizens could actually afford cars. North Korean airport is completely empty. North Koreans aren't allowed to leave the country, and visitors are rarely invited in, so it makes sense that their airport would be empty. However, when you actually see an empty airport, it's very eerie. Don't worry about missing your flight because there's absolutely no lines whatsoever. The man filming the video shows the empty lines to check your luggage, the empty lobby, and the empty waiting areas. It's surprising that anyone ended up being on his flight because the entire time he was waiting for the flight, nobody else was in the airport. Empty floors in North Korean hotel. Just like an airport, you'd expect a hotel to be full of people, especially in the capital city of a country. However, as always, North Korea proves to be a lot different from most nations. In the video, a man films his experience exploring an empty floor of his hotel. He goes to the top floor of the hotel. As soon as he gets out of the elevator, it looks as though he's exploring an abandoned building, not one that's currently in use. The lights are turned off basically the entire floor. It's eerily quiet as there's no people in this section of the hotel.
Okay, I'm gonna have to admit I'm a little bit creeped out right now. Alright. Let's actually explore. Okay, that looks creepy. Let's go downstairs. Huh. More creepy floors. And apparently, this staircase ends.
North Korea likes to brag about all its beautiful hotels, but it doesn't bring in or have enough people to fill them. Smuggling food into North Korea. Despite what their government says, most North Koreans are not living abundant lives. In fact, most of the people are starving to death. The government refuses to help its citizens, so the people of North Korea are forced to look outside of the country to help. This video shows how people smuggle food into North Korea from China. In it, you can see people crossing the Chinese border, grabbing food, and carrying it back into North Korea. They go back and cover their tracks so the guards won't be able to see where they crossed. It's a lot of work, but it's necessary to keep people alive. It's too hard to get people across the border and out of the country, but they can bring in food to try and help make the people of North Korea's lives easier. Empty computer lab. In this video, a man gets to tour one of the top computer labs in North Korea. The only problem is that it's completely empty. The only North Korean person in the lab, other than the visitors, is the tour guide. For it to be the top computer lab in the country, it seems really weird that it's empty. It just is another example of how North Korea tries to prove that they have technology, but they don't want their citizens to have access to it. North Korean water park. This propaganda video shows clips of a North Korean water park. The water park looks like a lot of fun, with many people smiling, laughing, and having a good time. The disturbing part in it, though, is the fact that the vast majority of the country in North Korea would never be able to afford to visit such a place. More disturbing, however, is the fact that many citizens don't have access to drinkable water, so the fact that they have propaganda showing people leisurely swimming in water seems a bit sadistic. US citizen detained in North Korea for spying. In this video, a US citizen named Kim Dong-chul has been arrested and detained in North Korea for suspected spying. He speaks at a North Korean press conference where he admits to trying to steal important documents containing information about North Korea's nuclear weapons and trying to share them with South Korea.
10월 2일 나선 경제무역지대에서 내가 매수한 자로부터
He cries as he apologizes for his actions. He also cries when he addresses his family, saying he's sorry for the shame that he's brought upon them. He promises that if he's released, he'll start a campaign that will spread information about the goodness of North Korea.
정말 씻을 수 없는 큰
More than likely, Chul was forced to read this statement in front of the whole country. He was arrested and sentenced to 10 years of hard labor in North Korea, but was released after 3 years in 2018. How North Koreans view the United States. This piece of propaganda was made to defame the US.
This is how Americans live today, drinking coffee made from snow and living in tents and buying guns to kill each other.
North Koreans are brainwashed to believe that the United States is evil and out to destroy their country. They also want North Koreans to believe that living conditions in the United States is worse than in North Korea. This video shows Americans, homeless and sleeping in the streets in the middle of winter.
These people lie huddled together with their dead friends in blue body bags, drinking coffee cups full of local snow.
It shows them using outdated technology and that the streets are full of protests. They try to make sure that if their citizens think that living in North Korea is bad, living in the United States is worse. Hidden homeless of Pyongyang. Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, is full of rich, prosperous people. Or so the North Korean government would have you believe. This video follows a homeless woman and her child back to their shack outside the city of Pyongyang. The two are extremely starved, and their home is abysmal. They talk about how they sneak out at night to scavenge food in the train stations and off the street. They don't go out into the city in the day, for fears of being captured and sent to labor camp or killed. It's depressing to see such a disparity between the people living in the city of Pyongyang and the ones living in the outskirts of the city. North Korean TV announces the death of Kim Jong-il. For the most part, news anchors keep their composure. It's fairly uncommon to see news anchors get emotional over a story or an event on camera. However, when Kim Jong-il passed away in 2011, one news anchor's reaction demonstrated how the whole country was feeling. The news anchor sobbed and could barely finish her statement about Kim Jong-il passing away due to an illness in 2011. She declares that North Korea will rise stronger and braver with the guidance of Kim Jong-un. In North Korea, propaganda has brainwashed the citizens into believing that their leaders are basically gods. Despite the terrible conditions of the country, most citizens feel a tremendous amount of love and devotion to their cruel leaders. Or so they say. The death of Kim Jong-il was very devastating to the entire nation, and this news segment gives a look into how the entire country was reacting to the news. Before we play the last clip you've watched this far, why not consider subscribing to our channel? I post 2 new scary videos every week, so subscribe to make sure you stay up to date with the latest new releases. North Korean labor camp. This footage shows what happens in North Korean labor camps. The prisoners are forced to farm frozen fields or walk miles carrying rocks on their heads. Some footage shows them carrying wood to build a bridge. They're constantly surrounded by armed guards, making escape impossible. At the end of the video, one of the guards spots the cameraman and aims a gun at him. Luckily, the cameraman sees this and runs away before he's shot. The footage shows the terrifying reality many North Koreans face. If they aren't starving at home, they're being treated as slaves in labor camps. This is truly devastating to see.
That is definitely creepy. I can't even imagine, dude. I miss the old Boogie 298.
0233 hours local, and in a mountain complex in North Korea just over 100 miles from the Chinese border, technicians scramble to remove camouflage netting from the entrance to a deep underground bunker. That bunker has been cut into the mountainside and covered over with camouflage to fool American spy satellites loitering hundreds of miles overhead. The cover of night helps to obfuscate the rush of activity, and the heavy cloud cover is exactly what the Hermit Kingdom was waiting for. Out of the converted mineshaft, a huge truck is carefully backed out. The massive vehicle has only one purpose: to transport the equally massive Hwasong-50 intercontinental ballistic missile. Finally eased out of its hiding hole, the truck begins the laborious process of lifting the giant missile into position. Over 40 feet tall, the missile is taller than a 2-floor home and has the power to destroy several square miles of a densely packed city. The launch command officer picks up a phone hardwired straight to an underground telephone line that's connected directly to Kim Jong-un. The North Koreans have to resort to primitive telephone technology to ensure the United States or its allies aren't listening in somehow. On the other end, the North Korean dictator gives a single word. The Hwasong-15 intercontinental ballistic missile fires its main engine, shaking the entire launch complex to its core. Launch personnel hide behind blast screens or huddle inside the relative safety of the launch truck's armored cab, hunkering down in case something goes wrong and the missile and its entire fuel load explodes. 2 seconds later, the missile proves to be in good operation and lifts off the ground. 1,000 miles above the Earth, the United States' space-based infrared system immediately detects the thermal plume of the massive rocket. A low-Earth satellite sends an immediate flash alert to the 2nd Space Warning Squadron at Buckley Air Force Base in Colorado. Brother and sister units across the broad web of U.S. missile defense and the commanders of every U.S. geographical command. A second U.S. satellite in a geostationary orbit confirms the thermal signature of a large ballistic missile and chirps a second emergency alert. The massive Hwasong-15 is nearing supersonic flight and has punched several hundred feet through the clouds and into the open sky. The U.S.'s space-based infrared system satellites have now focused their full attention on the telltale thermal signature of the big rocket. Cloud cover may have made it impossible to see liftoff with the naked eye, but the incredible heat given off by the fiery liftoff was easy to spot by infrared sensors. Now the large rocket is screaming through the air, riding a thermal plume several hundred feet long and thousands of degrees hot. The U.S. satellites immediately begin to compare the thermal signature of the North Korean rocket with a large onboard library of known missile launches. In less than a second, there's a match with 2 different Hwasong-15 test launches from the late 2010s. The confirmed match is immediately sent to U.S. Space Command. U.S. Space Force personnel are stunned by the multiple threat warnings from the space-based network and rush to pour through the data. Humans are far slower than machines, though, and it'll take time to verify the threat. The North Korean missile is now twice as high as a commercial airliner, and its main rocket engine is still going strong. Space Force personnel have confirmed the launch as authentic. An emergency flash is dispatched to U.S. forces in South Korea and across the Pacific. It's impossible to know where the missile is headed this early in flight. Via hotline to the DoD and the White House, the alert is out. North Korea has fired a ballistic missile, possibly tipped with a nuclear warhead. The main engine on the Hwasong-15 shuts down as it runs out of fuel. The missile coasts for a brief second, traveling at several thousand miles an hour now in the upper atmosphere, before a series of explosive bolts just under 3/4 of the way up separate the first stage of the rocket from the second stage. A second later, the second stage engine fires, and the vehicle lurches forward as it prepares to exit the Earth's atmosphere. An aide rushes to interrupt a meeting between the President of the United States of America and the leader of a partner nation. There's no time for formalities, and the President is practically dragged out of the room so he can be informed. North Korea has launched a nuclear attack. Target is still unknown. The President immediately heads for the highly restricted and secretive Situation Room in the heart of the White House. From there, he'll be able to communicate with American forces around the world and defend real-time tracking data from various American assets. U.S. Space Command issues an order for radar installations in South Korea and Japan to begin tracking the North Korean launch. Sea-based Spy-1 radars on American naval vessels are networked into the massive surveillance effort tracking the North Korean missile. While boosting into space, the missile is at its most vulnerable, but the United States still lacks its capability to rapidly destroy a missile during this initial phase. With development on high-velocity projectiles and directed energy weapons, it's hoped that in the near future, U.S. forces will be able to down a missile during this vulnerable phase. For now, though, all U.S. assets can do is watch and gather data which will help determine where the missile is headed and which missile defense assets to activate. With a nuclear threat confirmed, the United States Secret Service begins preparations to move the president to a secure and highly classified location. If the missile is aimed at the White House, the president has less than 40 minutes to vacate. U.S. terminal high-altitude defense batteries in South Korea, Guam, and Hawaii are activated. Their powerful AN/TPY-2 radars begin sweeping the sky for signs of the threatening missile. Designed to obliterate an incoming ballistic missile during its terminal phase, the batteries of the interceptors are currently useless and can only defend the areas they're assigned to. Patriot missile defense batteries in the U.S. bases across the Pacific go on alert. These too are short-range defenses which are only useful for defending specific locations. U.S. Aegis-equipped warships in the region are given the same alert. Their SM-3 missiles can also be used for short-range ballistic missile intercepts just outside the atmosphere, but require the target to be in its descent stage. With a range of several hundred miles, though, each Aegis-equipped ship can help protect multiple U.S. installations or naval battle groups. The U.S. Northern Command at Peterson Air Force Base begins preparations to activate the United States' homeland defenses. At Fort Greely, Alaska, and Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, the ground-based mid-course defense system is activated, a collection of 44 interceptors. These missiles have a far greater range than either the mobile THAAD or the Navy's SM-3 missiles and are designed to intercept a target in the mid-course before it's had a chance to enter terminal phase and is still cruising through space. More data is needed, however, and all that U.S. forces can currently do is watch and wait. It now has become clear from the missile's trajectory that this is not an attack against forces in South Korea or Guam. Japan is also ruled out as a target. Hawaii remains a likely target, but so does the rest of the U.S. mainland. The U.S. president is notified that based on the missile's trajectory and speed, it is not a test of a new missile. All the data points to this being a legitimate launch against American forces. Given North Korean capabilities, it's likely this is an attack against either Hawaii or the American West Coast. While North Korea has missiles capable of reaching the East Coast, it's not believed they have the targeting capabilities to strike that far with any sort of precision. The president authorizes the use of ground-based interceptors against the incoming threat and order the U.S. Navy ships near Hawaii or the American West Coast to move into positions to best protect major population centers. Across the United States, a fleet of specially modified aircraft put into the air. These big planes are loaded with communications gear and hardened against electromagnetic pulses. They're known as doomsday airplanes because it's their job to ensure that the President of the United States can remain in contact with all U.S. military forces, even in the event of a massive nuclear strike against the homeland. The planes will fly high enough to avoid being caught up in destruction below and provide a direct airborne link between each other and surviving space and ground stations across the world. They will not come back down until the crisis is over, with a special fleet of aerial tankers dedicated to keeping them fueled and flying. For the moment, they settle into an orbital pattern across the West Coast, the East Coast, and the American heartland. The full might of the U.S. nuclear triad is officially on alert and prepared to retaliate against any potential threat, with the possibility of another nation using the cover of a North Korean strike to attack the U.S. with its own weapons. America from this point on has to be prepared to fight a nuclear war against any adversary. Troop recall orders are issued for American units across the world, informing soldiers they must drop whatever they're doing and immediately report for duty. Nuclear-capable aircraft are prepared for a possible nuclear mission, and nuclear munitions are prepared for possible loading and launch. Deep in the darkest recesses of the world's oceans, the American nuclear ballistic missile submarine fleet makes its own preparations to rain down apocalypse on the president's command. The second stage of the Hwasong-15 missile runs out of fuel. The payload detaches from the second stage and, using a chemical-powered thruster, adjusts its course and heading. The missile is now flying unpowered, riding the incredible momentum built by the massive two-stage rocket and moving as much as 4.2 miles a second. U.S. Space Command issues new tracking data on the North Korean missile and confirms separation of the payload from the second stage. Based on this new data, Hawaii is ruled out as a target. Current speed and elevation dictate that a hit on the southern American West Coast is likely. Armed with this new data, U.S. missile defense personnel opt for a GBI launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base instead of Fort Greely in Alaska. 4 of the long, skinny missiles are activated and fed live targeting data, but they can't be launched yet. They must wait until the enemy missile draws closer before launching. The American president is rushed out of the Situation Room and to Marine One. his personal helicopter. 2 attachés join the president. One carries the nuclear football, the remote nuclear command authority unit, which gives the president the power to order Armageddon from anywhere in the world. The second carries a large backpack-like communications device that serves to keep the president in contact with all branches of the government and the military at all times. Rather than head to a predetermined shelter, the president opts to instead board Air Force One, believing that there's little risk to a full-blown nuclear attack on the homeland. From Air Force One, he'll be safe from the ground effects of a nuclear blast and be able to remain in contact with the rest of the military and government. U.S. and South Korean special forces stationed in South Korea and Japan are mustered and rushed to armories in preparation for a strike into the north. These elite units have been kept at high readiness due to recent hostilities from the north. Their specially modified Black Hawk helicopters can evade enemy radar and even fly more silently than any other helicopters in the world. They have one mission: infiltrate known North Korean nuclear sites and neutralize them from within. U.S. and South Korean alert aircraft take to the skies in anticipation of a full-blown offensive from the north. On the ground, forces across the DMZ prepare for combat, and an alarm is sounded in Seoul. In case of hostilities, it's expected that North Korea will shell Seoul directly from behind the DMZ and has so many guns that it can deliver a whopping 10,000 rounds of high explosives per minute to the city of 10 million. American supercomputers calculate the trajectory, altitude, and speed of the North Korean warhead and feed that data to the ground-based mid-course defense system. With careful math, the computers calculate a firing solution, and green light is given for the launch of interceptors. 4 GBIs lift off from their silos in the California desert. The missiles will fly not to where the North Korean nuke is, but rather where it will be when they intercept it, with a dumb kinetic warhead that will destroy the enemy nuke through sheer kinetic energy. As they lift into the sky, TPY-2 and sea-based radars are networked together and feed them a steady diet of tracking data. In Guam, Japan, and South Korea, air crews rush to their aircraft in anticipation of full-blown war with North Korea. First up will be F-15s and F-16s to establish air dominance. Normally, stealthy B-2 bombers would slip in behind the air superiority fighters to take out critical air defenses and communications nodes, but the bulk of the B-2 fleet is in Missouri and unprepared for combat. Instead, the Air Force's big stick, the B-52, is prepared for immediate action. These aircraft will require at least an hour to prep, but taking off from bases across the South Pacific will be able to put steel on target within the day. U.S. interceptors are now in space and speeding toward the calculated intercept point with the North Korean warhead. The interceptors have ditched their ascent stages and make only small corrections using chemical thrusters. If the calculated firing solution is bad, they could miss the North Korean warhead by miles. In that case, it'll be up to the Navy's Aegis vessels to down the warhead before it can strike an American city. Updated tracking data reveals the target is likely Los Angeles. The first wave of U.S. Special Operations Forces are given the green light from the American president to take off in their modified Black Hawk helicopters. Their destination is several North Korean nuclear launch facilities believed to be capable of rapid deployment. Other ground attack aircraft based in South Korea are already on their way to their targets, intent on destroying any ability for North Korea to launch a second attack. The U.S. President boards Air Force One. Upon arrival, he asks the United States Congress for a formal declaration of war with North Korea. The North Korean warhead suddenly breaks up into multiple smaller fragments as it ejects a cloud of highly reflective chaff. The metallic confetti is meant to confuse radar systems and make it harder to target the warhead. The warhead is now in 8 pieces. Each piece could be a separate warhead or could be a decoy meant to lure missile defense systems away from the real warhead. U.S. ground and space-based radar struggle to pick out the real warhead from possible decoys from within the threat cloud. TPY-2 and sea-based X-band radars are best suited for this task, and it falls on them now to give a good intercept course for America's GBIs. Powerful processors churn through all the available data to sniff out the real threat from amongst the chaff and decoys. If they fail, millions of people will die. Using extremely precise measurements, the dummy warheads are singled out. Because of North Korea's inexperience with MIRV warheads and the use of decoys, the dummy warheads don't quite match the profile of a real warhead as perfectly as it flies through space. With a good intercept solution, the GBIs detach their exo-atmospheric kill vehicle. It will take 6 minutes for them to reach their target. There's nothing anyone can do now but pray. Unbeknownst to the United States, China has launched its own rapid response forces into North Korea. Elite Chinese troops penetrate North Korean airspace in fast transport helicopters. Their goal is the same as the Americans: seize Kim Jong-un's nuclear arsenal before it can be used again, and thus incur the wrath of the American nuclear triad. With both American and Chinese troops headed to the same objectives, though, this attack now has the possibility of sparking all-out war between the US and China. American EKVs scream through space at over 4,000 miles per hour. They're just seconds from a successful intercept or a catastrophic failure. The first EKV screams past the intercept point, missing the North Korean weapon by a dozen miles. The second EKV hits nothing. It too misses the North Korean warhead by over 3 miles. A second after the second EKV, the third strikes its target true, moving at a combined speed of just under 10,000 miles an hour. The impact produces a bright flash in the sky for a brief second. Nuclear detonation requires a precise chain of events, so the impact of the interceptor does not set off the nuclear explosion. Multiple ground stations and ship-based radar assets all confirm the good news. 2 misses followed by a direct hit. The threat has been neutralized and the dummy warheads will burn up in the atmosphere. The American president receives the good news aboard Air Force One. He can still see Washington, D.C. out the left side of the aircraft. And despite this threat being over, he will not order a return to the White House. The conflict has just begun, and more nuclear attacks are possible at any minute from North Korea. On the ground, half a world away, the South Korean and U.S. armies are preparing for what will be the costliest war since World War II, a conflict that will make the original Korean War look like a cap gun shootout. American warplanes are already en route to the Hermit Kingdom, preparing to drop tens of thousands of pounds of high explosives on suspected nuclear sites, and special forces from both the U.S. and China are racing each other to seize Kim Jong-un's nuclear arsenal. On the border, the North Korean army is finally making its opening gambit, and over 1,000 pieces of artillery begin to rain hell down on the South's defenders. Now go check out North Korea versus United States 2021 military comparison, or click this other video instead. One week before a U.S. nuclear launch, the United States has been closely monitoring Russian movements in Ukraine. Recently, some unsettling images have been brought to light. Satellite imagery reveals nuclear weapons being moved to airfields just across the border in Russia. Mobile launchers also appear to be on the move. The U.S. military intelligence officers scour the data to make sure what they're seeing is accurate. Several MAZ-7917 transporter erector launchers carry RT-2PM towable ballistic missiles dangerously close to European borders. It looks as if several of the nuclear missiles are positioned to attack the front lines of the Ukrainian conflict. Others have been moved to the far reaches of Russia's eastern territories. This is unsettling for the United States and its NATO allies, as Vladimir Putin is not known for his level-headedness. As his forces suffer defeat after defeat in Ukraine, he might be willing to take drastic measures. The President of the United States is informed of the deployment of nuclear missiles across Russia. He ponders what might be going through Putin's head, but quickly realizes it's a rabbit hole he doesn't wish to go down. Instead, the President of the United States orders several Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines to deploy closer to Russian shores. If a nuclear response by the United States is needed, these submarines will play a vital role in quickly striking key targets before Russia has time to launch a full-scale nuclear attack. The nation's defense network is put on high alert as intelligence officers try to gather as much intel as possible to provide the President the opportunity to make the most informed decision. B-2A Spirit stealth bombers take off from Whiteman Air Force Base to fly alert patrols near the Russian mainland. They're loaded with GBU-57AB massive ordnance penetrator bombs in case things go sideways and the U.S. needs to take out Russian high-priority targets hidden deep within protective bunkers. A few B-2s are equipped with B-83 nuclear bombs. However, these aircraft will remain grounded until further notice. These nukes have a maximum yield of 1.2 megatons, making them some of the most powerful nukes in the U.S. arsenal. 24 hours before a U.S. nuclear launch. Over the past several days, things have escalated. Ukrainian troops have pushed Russian forces all the way back to Crimea. The Chinese Navy has created a blockade around Taiwan. And Kim Jong-un has been spouting nonsense and threats that if the U.S. tries to interfere with their allies' plans, North Korea is mobilizing forces across the DMZ. In a matter of days, global security has gone from relatively stable, except in Ukraine, to terrifyingly uncertain in multiple parts of the world. The President of the United States doesn't sleep anymore. He keeps a close eye on events unfolding across the Atlantic and in the Pacific. Right now, the best thing that the U.S. and its NATO allies can do is prepare. Everyone was already on high alert, but now the President never lets the nuclear football out of his sight. 47 minutes before a U.S. nuclear launch, a high-ranking general bursts into the Oval Office. The President sits at his desk, staring at the latest images coming in from around the world. Russia, China, and North Korea all seem to be posturing toward taking drastic actions. The President can see by the look on this general's face that this is not going to be good news. Then an emergency alert reaches the President directly from the Pentagon. Russia has launched a nuclear missile. A network of satellites tracks the thermal signature of the Russian nuke. It's heading west toward Europe. The President knows the target is not the United States, as if Russia were to attack the U.S., their ballistic missiles would fly over the Arctic. However, until more data comes in, the exact location of where the nuke is headed is unknown. The president picks up the red phone on his desk and gets the Secretary of Defense on the other line. It's agreed that everyone should meet in the Situation Room to plan out what the next steps will be. 35 minutes before a U.S. nuclear launch, the Russian missile separates in the atmosphere, and now 4 warheads all fall toward the city of Kiev. 3 of the warheads are decoys, but one contains a nuke that could decimate the entire capital of Ukraine. Every NASAMS and anti-air system in Ukraine fires simultaneously. They try desperately to destroy the warheads before the nuke detonates. Most of these systems were designed to take out aircraft, but desperate times call for desperate measures. The world holds its breath, and the seconds tick by. One of the anti-air missiles gets a lucky hit. There's an explosion high up in the atmosphere. It's not clear how many of the warheads were destroyed or if the real nuclear device was the one that was hit. The people of Kiev take shelter, preparing for the worst. The President of the United States sits in the Situation Room with his generals, praying that this is all just a nightmare he'll wake from. 34 minutes before a U.S. nuclear launch, the Russian nuclear warhead detonates over the city of Kiev. In an instant, millions of lives are lost. The capital of Ukraine is reduced to a smoldering crater surrounded by irradiated ruins. 33 minutes before a U.S. nuclear launch. "Sir, what are your orders?" The Secretary of Defense asks the President. His eyes are still fixed on the screen, showing a mushroom cloud rising over what was once Kiev. "Sir," the Secretary of Defense screams. The President closes his eyes and shakes his head. "We cannot let him get away with this," the President whispers. "Get me the leaders of NATO on the phone. We need everyone on the same page before what happens next." 15 minutes before a U.S. nuclear launch, the President of the United States ends the call between the leaders of NATO. He looks around the Situation Room at his military advisors. The conversation was brief. Everyone agreed that Russia's actions cannot stand without consequences. There needs to be some form of retaliation by NATO. It's clear that Putin has lost his mind. After the nuclear attack, China almost immediately pulled its ships and other forces back to the mainland in an attempt to de-escalate the conflict in East Asia. Even they can't believe that Vladimir Putin would fire a nuclear missile at Ukraine. China has a strict policy of only using nuclear weapons to defend its own territory. They condemn Russia for escalating the war in Ukraine into a much more dangerous global conflict. The Situation Room is silent. The European countries and NATO have already begun mobilizing their forces. The plan is to hit Putin hard and fast. But the problem is the mad Russian dictator still has more nuclear weapons, many more. The President of the U.S. has declared that Vladimir Putin must be immediately punished and that NATO needs to send a clear message. The U.S. has taken it upon itself to launch a retaliatory nuclear strike against several key military installations across Russia. These nukes will not target major cities or population areas, but they will cripple Russia's nuclear stores and military infrastructure. "I've made my decision," the President says. "Bring me the codes." 13 minutes before a U.S. nuclear launch. Everyone turns to look at the man holding the black briefcase in the corner of the Situation Room. For a moment, he doesn't move. He knows the ramifications of delivering the briefcase to the President now that he's made up his mind. But it is his sworn duty. The man takes a step forward and carries the nuclear football to the table. He places it in front of the President of the United States and returns to his post. The President unlatches the clasps of the briefcase. They swing open with a satisfying click. The President then opens the case and pulls out the contents, laying them out on a table in front of him. First, the President opens the Black Book, which contains the retaliatory options available to him. There are all types of scenarios. The President runs his index finger over the table of contents until he lands on the one he's looking for. He flips through the pages and finds the correct one. The room is as quiet as a graveyard. It's as if the air has been sucked out of the chamber. No one moves. The President reads what's written on the page to himself and nods his head. He closes the Black Book and opens another booklet that contains a list of classified sites and their locations around the globe. It's here that he finds the targets that will be hit when he gives the final order to launch nukes at Russia. The President closes the book and opens a manila folder that contains several pages of authentication codes. He picks up the phone and calls the National Military Command Center at the Pentagon. They've been expecting his call. The voice on the other line speaks an authentication code into the receiver to verify that the person on the other line is in fact the President of the United States. The President pauses for a moment as he reads the words on the laminated card known as the biscuit. These words are known only to the President and confirm his identity. The member of the National Military Command Center listens to the response. It is correct. Next, the President relays the specific code that signifies which type of strike he wants. Now that the President has chosen to launch, there's nothing anyone can do to stop the process. The President of the United States is the only one who can authorize a nuclear launch, and is the only one who can cancel it once the process has begun. This makes many people in the Situation Room and around the country nervous, especially if they don't agree with his decision. but there's nothing anyone can do about it now. 5 minutes before a U.S. nuclear launch. The codes have been authenticated. The identity of the president has been confirmed. The encrypted instructions on what missiles should be prepared for launch and their targets are sent out to all parties involved. These sealed authentication system codes are received by military personnel around the world. When they come in, safes are opened at each site to retrieve the verification codes to ensure the SAS codes are real. Underground launch control centers that control the Minuteman missile silos in the heart of the country prepare for launch. Air Force generals order B-2 pilots to report to their planes. Deep under the waters of the Pacific Ocean, encrypted communications are sent to the Ohio-class submarines who ready their nuclear missiles for launch. In each instance, the NMCC orders are authenticated one more time by those who receive them to ensure that the most serious decision that's ever been made is real. The NMCC sends out actual missile launch codes. There is one more failsafe to ensure that every possible opportunity to abort the firing sequence has been given. 1 minute before a U.S. nuclear launch. The crews at the underground missile silos open a box containing 2 keys. The commander of the facility holds onto one and gives the other to his second in command. Submarine captains hand off a key to their first mate, who walks over to one of the terminals aboard the submarine and prepares for what comes next. The captain pulls his own key out from the chain around his neck. The B-2s that are en route to their targets have been given the authorization to go weapons-free. The 2 pilots in each cockpit are tasked with ensuring their payload hits the correct target. 10 seconds before a U.S. nuclear launch. There's collective anticipation across every branch of the military at this point. All high-ranking officers know what's about to happen. The U.S. is going to war, and it's launching nukes to kick off what will likely be a catastrophic series of events. There's still hope that by destroying most of Russia's nuclear capabilities, an all-out nuclear exchange can be avoided, but this can't be confirmed with 100% accuracy. The seconds tick down. 5 seconds before a U.S. nuclear launch. Each launch requires that both keys are turned within milliseconds of each other. This ensures that no single person is responsible for launching the nukes and adds another layer of protection against unintentionally starting a nuclear war. 1 second before a U.S. nuclear launch. The keys turn in their slots. The launch of the United States' nuclear arsenal is initiated. The nuclear triad is the backbone of America's national security. The triad consists of land, air, and sea nuclear launch capabilities, and the president's decision requires that all 3 branches fire their missiles at Russia. 1 second after U.S. nuclear missiles are launched. The engines on 100 Minuteman III missiles roar to life in their underground silos. These ballistic missiles are located in Colorado, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, and Wyoming. The ground shakes as the silo doors open, and the Minuteman missiles roar into the sky. These ICBMs will fly over the Arctic to hit their targets on the other side of the world. The soldiers working in the underground launch control centers ask for forgiveness as they listen to the nukes take flight. The commanders at each facility are still on the phone with the President of the United States and the National Military Command Center. They update them on the progress as the missiles rise higher and higher into the atmosphere. Airborne missile combat crews monitor the ICBMs once they enter the upper atmosphere to ensure they're still on target. The Minuteman III rockets have a range of over 6,000 miles. They accelerate toward their top speed of 15,000 miles per hour, which is around Mach 23. Each missile weighs just under 80,000 pounds, which is a lot of weight to launch 700 miles above the Earth's surface. The rockets use 3 solid propellant motors to get the job done. 7 Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines rise close to the surface just off the Kamchatka Peninsula. This is only half of the Ohio-class subs that the U.S. has at its disposal, but for the current mission, it's all that's needed. The way the submarines were designed makes them almost impossible for the enemy to locate until they surface, and at that point, it's too late. Each submarine can carry 20 ballistic missiles with independently targeted warheads. This means that each one of the warheads can be assigned a different target. This will make it incredibly hard for Russia to intercept them all, or launch effective countermeasures. It's almost inevitable that at least some of the missiles will hit their targets. The Trident II D5 missiles erupt out of their submarine silos and accelerate into the air. As soon as the missiles have been launched, the silo doors are closed, and the submarine descends back into the depths of the ocean, where it'll hide from any enemy ships trying to locate it. The submarines stealthily make their way back to their respective naval bases to be resupplied for their next mission. There's no rush at this point, as the Ohio-class subs typically spend 77 days at sea before returning for routine maintenance. However, if they needed to, the subs could stay underwater for much longer, as they're nuclear-powered and don't need to surface to replenish air. Instead, they use electrolysis to break apart H2O molecules and generate oxygen for the crew. The B-2 bombers are still traveling toward their objectives, The timing has been precisely planned out, so they drop their bombs as soon as the first nuclear missiles hit their targets. The key to the president's plan is that the nukes strike Russia almost simultaneously, 5 minutes after U.S. nuclear missiles are launched. NATO forces have launched a series of aerial and ground attacks into Russian territory. Their main objective is to serve as a decoy for what's to come. Bombers and fighter jets hit key Russian radar stations that survey the northern edges of Russian territory and the skies over the Arctic. This is done to prevent early detection of the incoming ballistic missiles arcing over the North Pole of the planet. Ground forces speed toward Moscow in an attempt to force Putin's attention on the invasion instead of the strategic nuclear strikes that the U.S. just launched. It's a race against time for NATO forces. They need to cause as much damage and mayhem as possible to distract the mad dictator of Russia from launching his own nukes. Long-range missiles target key communication hubs between Moscow and the rest of the country. The more disruptive NATO forces can be, the better the chances the U.S. nukes have at hitting their targets without being intercepted. 15 minutes after U.S. nuclear missiles are launched, the Trident II D5 missiles descend toward their targets. Simultaneously, the B-2s drop their nuclear bombs. These stealth aircraft are supplemented by a handful of B-21 Raiders, with upgraded tech and longer ranges. The Russians have no idea that these aircraft have entered their airspace. They claimed that their newest forms of radar could detect even stealth bombers, but this, like so much of Russia's military posturing, is just a fabrication. The pilots sight their targets using a combination of infrared sensors, satellite telemetry, and high-tech radar. They've already been given the all-clear to drop their nukes, since they must maintain radio silence while in Russian airspace to keep from being detected. Each B-2 drops 16 2,400-pound B-83 nuclear bombs. They use sophisticated guidance systems to ensure that the nukes hit their targets. In an instant, dozens of nuclear missiles and bombs detonate above key Russian military installations. The distraction by NATO forces seems to have worked. The already weakened Russian military is so understaffed due to the war in Ukraine that they just didn't have the personnel to effectively monitor the NATO attacks and the incoming U.S. nuclear warheads. However, it's now clear what the strategy is. Putin screams at his generals to launch any Russian nukes that remain. At that very moment, a B-61 thermonuclear gravity bomb penetrates the ground near where Vladimir Putin is hunkered down in a bunker. The nuke detonates and instantly wipes out the Russian president and his closest generals. This will cause a breakdown in the chain of command and should deter Russia from launching its own nukes. Luckily, the classified information the President of the United States had included detailed instructions on where the first nuclear warheads needed to strike to deactivate the Russian dead hand contingency. The automated system is supposed to kick in if the Russian leadership is ever killed in a nuclear attack. Dead hand uses information and sensors to determine if an all-out retaliatory strike should be launched if Russian leadership has been compromised. However, the system was from the Soviet era, and like many of the military systems that carried over from the time period, it was not properly maintained. A few well-placed nuclear strikes have completely disabled the dead hand system and have kept Russian protocols from instantly launching every remaining nuke they had at U.S. and NATO targets. 30 minutes after U.S. nuclear missiles are launched, the Minuteman III ICBMs are about to strike their targets. The warheads are descending toward the Earth at top speed. The remaining leaders of the Russian military use the A-135 system, which once consisted of 68 nuclear-armed interceptors and phased array radar stations, to track and destroy incoming missiles. But the first strike by the U.S. has already decimated countless bases and assets, rendering their defensive network almost completely inoperable. The Russian Unified Air Defense System is still relaying information. The problem is, the military personnel required to effectively launch nuclear countermeasures have been decimated by the initial attack and by the war in Ukraine. However, 2 of the 6 Voronezh early warning radar installations still remain and are connected to the S-400 and S-500 anti-missile systems. The S-400 is designed to intercept aircraft and ballistic missiles with a range of up to 250 miles. The upgraded version of these missiles has an active radar to help them track incoming targets. The Russian military launches several S-400 at the incoming Minuteman IIIs. Several hit their targets and detonate. Russia also has next-generation S-500s, but with a shortage of semiconductors and materials due to sanctions from the war in Ukraine, the upgrading of their missile defense systems has yet to be completed. The Minuteman III nukes hit their marks. Almost all of the major Russian targets that the President of the U.S. ordered to be destroyed are now either vaporized or consumed by fire. The Russian landscape is covered in radiation. Its military is decimated. Key Russian government and military leaders are no more. The mission was a success, but at what cost? A U.S. nuclear launch is something that the world hopes will never happen again. Now watch What If North Korea launched a nuclear bomb minute by minute. Or check out This Is How You Actually Survive a Nuclear Attack.
Alright, we're gonna watch one King Cobra video. And after that, oh boy.
We're gonna make.
No.
1 week before a U.S. nuclear launch.
Before we go to bed. So, let's see. King Cobra, where are you? Oh, you got bacon, pizza, nachos.
Good fine afternoon, YouTube. It's your boy King Cobra back at you with another video. And today we're making bacon nacho pizza. Or bacon.
Hello, YouTube. It's your boy King Cobra here, back at you with another cooking video. I want to show you how to make a breakfast hellburger. That's right. There's going to be a patty, there's going to be cheese, there's going to be crunched up Doritos onto the patty. There's going to be all kinds of good stuff on this burger. While I make this burger, I shall come forth and say, "Come forth, almighty thunderstorm." I conjure this thunderstorm with a cooking video. Okay, I pointed my wand at the window, got them clouds going up real good. Alright. Wouldn't that be something? I'm down to my last bowl of pipe tobacco from one bag. Damn! Now the first thing I'm going to do for this burger is toast the buns for it or whatever, and then we'll build it from there. Come with me to the kitchen, where I might entice your appetite with a delicious spicy cheeseburger. Now we're in the kitchen, and well, for starters, the burger's getting 2 of these.
Oh,
the nacho cheese snack for the bowl. Doritos loaded.
And we're gonna need
Boy, really loves his Doritos, doesn't
We
he?
could use a hamburger bun for it, but I'm going to use some Montana Sweetheart white bread. Hashtag biceps. Look at these guns. Look at these biceps tubes. Alright. Turn the stove on to high, which is up all the way. Well, these are definitely cooked all the way. 2 slices of bread. And we're also going to be adding actual Doritos to it as well to give it a nice crunch factor, you know what I'm saying?
Boy. Might be the Doritos are bucko.
The cheese I'll be using for this spicy burger is Serengeti pepper jack cheese. This is the sliced Monterey Jack natural cheese with jalapeno and habaneros peppers. I do apologize for the lack of videos lately. I know a lot of my fans are like, what the hell? Okay. On to high. Put that on the bottom bun, just like that. Next layer of this, we're going to add. The next thing we're going to add to that burger patty. Oh yeah, we're going to have to do it. Swampadelic. And the best way to do this is just to take your cap and pour a
little bit into your cap. Just a little bit into your cap. Okay. And best way to do this, just pour a little bit into your cap. And go like that. And on top of that, we're going to sprinkle on those Doritos chips. Retaining DA isn't gonna happen, is it? Turn out too bad.
What?
And we're gonna top off that egg with a little bit more swamp. This burger is just about done, people. I'm gonna microwave it. I'm gonna microwave it so that cheese melts everything together. Excuse me. We're gonna add some ranch. Some bacon flavored ranch. And I'm gonna add a whole lot, just a couple little squirts here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, with the cheese and the bread, you got your dairy and your grain. So, the egg was cooked good enough for camera, but it wasn't good enough to my standards. Oh, that first bite. Yeah, this burger tastes good.
What the fuck?
It's gonna hurt pooping this out later, but thank you for watching, and I shall see you all on the next video. Laters, YouTube.
What the fuck? That was so stupid.
The egg was cooked good enough for camera, but it wasn't good enough to my standards. Oh, that first bite. Yeah, this burger tastes good.
Oh my god. Alright, guys. That's gonna be it for today. I'm probably not gonna be online tomorrow, to be honest. I got some stuff to do. So, with that being said, I will